So,
Hi.
hello.
It's Tuesday.
I got confused what day last week anything was. We four out of 5 days that we were here.
Yeah, and I was here for a little while on Monday, so that did not help.
No,
'Cause
I
I'm
was
not-
so confused all week last
Yeah.
week. It was like, what's today? We're going live, but I don't know what today is.
Yes.
But yeah, it was
nuts.
it was a crazy week, and this week is off
Today
to
was a crazy day. Yes.
Yesterday was the same way, so it's been a good thing. I'm
Yeah.
not complaining.
No.
That's a good thing, but it's, whew.
Yes. So I think I'm prepared for this after. I think I'm prepared.
And I'm just gonna let you do it
Lisa's gonna just heckle.
because I was working on Friday,
You were. Yes.
so we'll talk about Friday at some point.
Yeah. So our plan today is to walk you through either IQ Designer or Design Center.
Yep.
And show you how to create like.
Which one are we gonna do? No, I'm just kidding.
We're gonna do we're on the Solaris.
We're gonna do the
so
design, the IQ Design
Designer.
Center.
Yeah. Because I like to mash it all up and make it
mash.
confusing. So we're working on the Solaris today, but it would be exactly the
It
same.
is exactly the same. Absolutely.
If you were on your Luminaire or if we were on our Luminaires at home. So yeah, we're gonna do that, and we're gonna. I'm kind of cheating like with a Kimberbell mug rug. So I like measured a Kimberbell mug rug.
I'm sorry.
To come up with my sizes. And
Okay.
I did decide, so I took some liberty while I was playing around with this. At first I was like, well, I want to make sure it fits in everybody's 5x7 hoop. But I decided people who have Design Center and IQ Design Center, you have a bigger machine.
You got a bigger hoop anyway,
so it didn't matter.
It's not gonna fit in there.
But
Hi, Mom.
we can do something a little bit smaller that can fit like a traditional 5x7 hoop later on.
Yep.
Or if you have a friend, you'll be able to make something that fits their hoops if you want. And I did not get a chance to try out anything that
We
we're
haven't
doing
actually stitched this yet.
here. So I will post when I'm done. I'll put a free design up so that you guys can have the pieces and parts. But it won't be today because it's not.
It's not gonna happen.
No, it didn't. I didn't get as far as I thought I was gonna get. And a couple people have already asked about our like little holiday, our Leabu holiday party. So we are doing a holiday party. It's going to be super short notice. It's this Friday.
Yep.
It's going to be at 9:30, and it will be
Oh
on
my God.
Facebook and YouTube. So
That's 2 minutes?
yeah,
Sorry.
you won't have to worry about it if you miss it.
It will be recorded.
it
You
will
can
be-
watch at your convenience.
Absolutely.
The
So
advantage, of course, is that you can ask questions if you're
if you're live, with
live.
us.
You can ask, but you can always call or email or something too. So
Yes. So we created, I say we, it was my idea, but Lisa did all the work.
So we will show the creation process because that's actually a big portion of what we wanted to talk about.
Yes.
And then, of course, there will be the files themselves, the end products, and those will be available with kit or without if you would like to. So a little bit different than what we did last year, but still embroidery and scan and cut.
Yes.
So please join us
Yes.
at some point, if it's not at 9:30 in the morning, at your convenience, anytime after that. And that's Friday, this Friday, because after Friday,
Lisa's going on
I'm going to take some
vacation.
vacation. So
Yeah.
I will be home with the
leaving me
fam.
To
So-
hold down the craziness.
the craziness, yes. I gotta say though, this is the craziest it's been in quite some time.
Since pre-pandemic.
Yes, and so I really, when I took the vacation, I
Yeah.
didn't really expect this.
Yeah, it'll
So
be fine.
I'm feeling mildly
You
guilty.
don't feel guilty at all.
just
Please.
a little guilty.
I am going on camera saying, enjoy your week. Do not feel guilty. Don't think about us. We'll be fine.
Okay.
Enjoy having Sam home, and you don't get these moments back. So
I don't.
don't
You're
think
not wrong.
about
It'll be
us
it'll
at
be a
all.
lot of fun.
Yes.
So we've
Yes.
got 4 of my days are already Christmas party booked, and I'm like, wait, what? How's
Yeah.
that work? So,
Yeah, no, don't even feel a little guilty at all. So
Well,
I was razzing you,
You,
really.
you,
I hope
you never
have a
know. I might
fantastic
be in
week
the
off.
area, and I sometimes show up.
Yeah, maybe
and-
you and Sam can stop in and say hi.
Yeah, you never know. We'll see. I have no idea what next week is going to bring. So
It's always a surprise, right?
It is most definitely always a surprise. So without further ado, we should give you as much time to push buttons as possible,
Right?
I'm
'Cause
thinking.
I
So
don't know what I'm doing.
it's been a while.
It
so,
has.
you know, and anytime you
And
don't
there's been
use
some
things,
updates.
anytime that you don't use a feature,
Yes.
it becomes a little lost. So, and like, wait, what did that button do? And oops, that was the wrong one. So, you know, you'll have to forgive if we push the wrong one because
Yes.
you know we're like, oh yeah, that's what that one did. So we
I
do
also
the same thing,
To
guys.
make
You know,
sure I have the right mouse. So I don't reset the
so again, we are in the. We are going to be working in either the IQ Designer or the Design Center. So any of our 9.5 by 14 or larger hoop size machines have this feature. But even if you don't have that machine and are curious about a little bit of programming information, or just want to see the file because we're going to provide it, hang out and we'll see what's going on.
Absolutely. So, okay,
without
let's
further
use
ado,
this mouse.
That mouse will swap some screens here.
All right.
And there is the Solaris screen.
Yes. So, first thing that we're going to do is go into the Design Center.
I could have done that part.
Or the IQ Designer, yes.
Yeah.
And so we're going to create this mug rug. It will probably not surprise you to know that I sketched out what I wanted things to do.
Have a plan to
Yes.
make it work.
And honestly, this is how I digitize even with computer software. I always sort of map my plan out. So someone once told me to work your plan and plan your work, and it kind of just stuck with me. And it does help me get through my process with less starts and stops because I kind of have an idea of what I'm supposed to be doing. I think it was good because I knew what I wanted it to do. So when I knew,
even if you had to stop, you knew where to pick back up at.
And when it was wrong, when it wasn't working the way that I wanted it to work, I knew to stop and to start over. So that is kind of what I did. In my mind, I wanted to create a mug rug style that you could use for easy, quick gift giving. And I wanted you to be able to sort of semi-customize it.
And by customize, you mean not have a fixed embellish design on it.
Yes.
That's a blank.
That's a blank.
Okay.
Yes. You know, we talk about moving around the designs in the design all the time. And I was sitting with a new to her embroiderer person today. She just picked up her machine and this was her first thing. And we were talking about the plus and minus stitch, and I'm like, yeah, you can just move around in your design. And it kind of occurred to me that, you know, I've been doing this for a really, really, really long time. You've been doing this for a really, really long time. So that makes perfect sense to us, but it maybe doesn't, it makes sense.
It maybe doesn't to,
right.
Especially brand new.
Yes.
Like, what do you move around what?
Right. And
like
if
I
you
just move it on the screen, right?
Yes. And if you have a Kimberbell design, there are so many steps sometimes because of all of the applique pieces and parts.
It can get very overwhelming as to where you are and where you need to go back to.
Yes. So I wanted to break the design into basically 4 steps, 3 of them which were being made in the design center portion, 1 step which you would then add whatever, like happy birthday design, whatever
the decorative portion is.
Yes.
So in theory, big picture, the idea is you would, on your USB, choose the base that's going to get your fabrics laid out. Then you will hit add, and you're going to hit whatever decorative fun thing that's going to make it pretty.
Yes.
And then you're going to hit add and add the back.
Yes.
That is the plan. So we're going to show how to create the base in the back, and then you guys can add whatever you want in the middle. So we're going to sandwich.
Yes.
And we're going to be the bread.
Yes.
That keeps it all together.
That keeps it all together.
Because that's what we do.
We're like peanut butter and jelly.
No, we're not.
Ham and cheese.
Gross. Okay, that's a little better.
I don't like peanut butter and jelly either. So.
All right.
I would have to be the peanut butter in this.
You would most definitely have to be the peanut butter in that situation.
All right, so I apologize. I know there's a little bit of a glare here, but I think you guys will be able to see. So that little black dot on the screen is the mouse. I do have a mouse attached to this, and I should be able to do almost everything with the mouse. Apparently, you cannot select the numbers when you're doing the size with the mouse.
Interesting. I haven't tried that yet. Now I know.
So now we know. There has been an update to these machines. This update was free for everybody who has a Solaris or a Luminaire. You will be able to select a size now instead of just using the arrow buttons, which you're going to see. So if you haven't updated your machine yet, you might not have this feature, but it is available to you. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start with a rectangle. So I'm going to go down to my shapes tool over here. And I'm going to select the square so that I can make a rectangle.
Which is number 1 because they're now numbered.
Yes, number is 0, 1. All right, and then I'm going to select OK at the bottom of the screen. And it's red right now. So now I'm going to go over to the bottom. It's kind of almost to the bottom part of my screen here. It says size. I'm going to select the size option. And this is a new icon. So in the right-hand side of the screen here, I have something that kind of looks like a keypad. So we're going to select the keypad. And now I have these little icons. So how you fill out the icon is down here. It says the box is empty, but this part here is blue. So that's the one that it's going to do first, and this is the up and down part.
Yep. So there's a little arrow. I know it's a little bit harder to see. There's an arrow to the left of the blue box that is pointing up and down. So we're going to do the height of our shape first.
Yes.
So we have a number pad down there. We can just type in. So instead of having to choose,
now it works.
Now you can use the mouse. But now keep going. I just was going to say we're able to type in 5.5 instead of having to hit the arrows and hopefully get the numbers that we want or whatever is closest that there is available. We can literally type in the exact size that we want for the height. And then she clicked the other arrow and typed in 7.5 for the width.
So now I want to go up here and I want to change my line option. So I do not want this to be a zigzag stitch. So you can do this one of 2 ways. You can select this part here. If you are on any other machine besides a Luminaire or a Solaris, you will need to select the icon that looks like a paper. This is the properties. I don't know why it works on this one, but it is the properties button on everyone else's machine. Our properties button does that as well, but you can also click the other one.
You can also literally click the picture of the stitch on ours.
Yes. In order to make this work, I do need to make sure that I am changing the color of my design pieces as we go and that I am selecting the style of stitch that I want. Otherwise, this will not work the way you want it to be. Ask me how I know. So I am selecting essentially the straight stitch option here. And I'm going to go down here and just pick a darker color. I'm going to pick this green. And I'm going to touch my paint can over here because what I want to do is I want to change my whole box. I want to change the properties of that. So I'm touching the paint can. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to touch the line. My screen turned green. I know it's hard to tell, but it did.
It did change color. I'll vouch.
If you were not sure that it did that, if you try to perform the second action again, the machine knocks at you. It will not let you do this. So we know that we changed that option. So my first box that I picked here was 5.5 by 7.5 because I want to pull the batting out of our seam allowance. So this is going to be the placement line for my batting. It could also be the placement line for fabric if I wanted it to be, but in this instance, it is my batting placement line because I'm going to draw a smaller rectangle that is going to be the batting trim line, which would become my seam line later on. This gets this out of the area. So I'm going to make the next box a little bit smaller. So I'm going back over to my shapes tool and I am selecting the square 01 again. I'm selecting OK and I'm going to go back to that size option.
So when we're in here, it's really important that we don't click somewhere else and unselect the shape that we are creating, because
Yes.
we want to do the size, the color, all of those things before
We unselect.
unselect it. It makes it very difficult to reselect it and make those changes if you didn't do it right off the cuff.
Yes.
Ask me how I know.
And so now I'm going in and I'm going to change. I'm leaving the line properties of that one the same for a minute. I'm going to select purple for this. And this is really my batting trim. So I really don't want this to be the same. I want it to be a triple stitch because I
Right.
don't want to stitch right through it. It will be much easier for you to change this now than it will be later on. So I'm going to select the triple stitch and I'm going to select OK. Now, both of my lines happen to be green right now. I want to touch my paint can and I want to touch the inner box. And now my inner box is purple. So again, I could touch that again and it would not let me fill that a second time except for there we go. I changed the green to the same thing. So right now I have green on the outside and I have purple on the inside. Hi, Dad.
So I just want to throw out the color change is super important because you're telling your machine to stop.
Yes.
In between these steps. So if you don't change the color, it's just going to keep stitching.
Yes.
So that's why color change is important for these things.
Absolutely. Now, before I move on to the next step, I want to make sure that I select the type of stitch that I want to work with next, because I'm going to be drawing some lines and they're going to be going through the other parts of my design. So when things overlap each other, if you change one, they all change. So I'm going to go back into my line properties. I'm going to pick the next color. I'm going to hit pink over here, and I'm going to go back to my straight line. Now, I need to draw 2 straight lines on here that are going from the top to the bottom, and I want them to be somewhere between 2.5 to 2 3/4 of an inch inside of this. It would be really hard for me to tell from here, so I'm going to turn my grid on temporarily. So I'm going to the top of my screen up here to my page properties or to my machine properties. And on this first page here, down at the bottom, it says grid. I'm going to turn my 1-inch grid on. So now I've got a grid here, which now makes the screen really hard for you to see. But I can count my squares. So I'm going to go over, each one of these squares represents an inch. So I'm going to go over essentially 2 inches.
I'm going to end up over here if I do that. So yeah. I'm not going to even try.
So I have changed my line property here to the regular straight stitch. I've changed the color. But now what I want to do is I also want to
change the type of line.
I want to change the type of line that I'm drawing. Right now, this icon here represents the type of line that I would be drawing. So I'm going to go back to that properties and I'm going to choose the straight line. So I'm going to choose this option right here and I'm going to select OK. Now, this line, how this works is you're basically going to click and then you're going to drag it down to where you want to stop and then you're going to unclick. I'm going to increase the percentage on this a little bit so that you guys can see this a little bit better. Guess that didn't really give you a much better look, but here is my box, all right? So this line right here is going to be about 2.5 inches away from that. So that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start just on the outside of my green box here. I'm going to do one left click and I'm going to pull all the way down and go just past the previous line and let go. And then I drew a line. You cannot see this line yet.
We can't either.
You just have to trust that it's there. Then I'm going to go up and I'm going to pick another color. So something I haven't picked already, so maybe a dark blue. And I know where I drew that previous line over here, and I'm gonna select just next to that, and I'm gonna draw again. It's not drawing because I'm still on the pan button. Let's try that again.
I don't think you did the first one either then.
So let's go back to pink.
Let's try that again.
1, 2, and I'm gonna draw.
There it
There we
is.
go.
Now I can see it.
And I want this to be as straight-ish as I can get it to be. And then select my second color. And I'm going right next to that. This is going to be my seam allowance for my accent fabric. So I'm gonna go next to it and I'm gonna pull that down and drop that down over there. Now I have created my placement for my batting, my trim for my batting, and then I have created a placement for my 2 pieces of fabric and my seam for the 2 pieces of fabric. And that's all I'm gonna do in this step because I want this to be able to be as simple as possible. So I'm gonna go and hit my next button at the bottom. And sometimes this is really hard to see with the background back there. So I'm gonna take the background back off. You might be able to see the lines a little bit better. So there we go. Now there is a red box around all of this, and that red box is just representing what happens to be highlighted in the upper corner here. As I scroll through the different pieces here, different parts of my design will become highlighted. My first line does go all the way down.
It didn't look like it in the previous picture because of all of the other lines, which is why we took them back off. It does. So it's the one that she has highlighted right now, and it does good. That's literally from the top to the bottom.
Yep.
It's sometimes when you have too much on the screen, it makes the lines that you're looking at look wonky.
Mm-hmm.
That is a real word.
Yes.
I'm sure it's in the dictionary. But if you see that the red box that's highlighting right now, it literally runs the whole length of it. But you're right, it didn't look like it was there, but it is.
So at this point, I would want to make sure that I had a working file of this in case it doesn't do what I think it's going to do in the other screen. So I would definitely save this. So I'm going to hit my memory button here, and this is going to ask me, where do you want to save this? I'm going to save it to my USB stick. You could save it to your machine if you wanted to. You could save it to both places if you want. So I'm saving it to my USB stick. Now I am going to set this, which is going to take us over to the embroidery side. So it's just reminding me, you're leaving. Is this really what you want to do? Yes, it is. So now I have my design on this screen, and I think if I zoom in just a little bit, it'll be a little bit easier for you to see. So you can see there are 2 boxes and 2 lines here. Those are my different thread colors. So that is what we have. I'm not really sure why.
Something in there's
combined.
Yep. It must be the bottom one because they're 2 minutes.
Could be. Which is why we save a design.
Yep.
So if it doesn't work, then you can take it back to the drawing board and you can go back and you can make a change. So what Lisa and I were talking about is if we scroll back over here, I only have 3 colors here. So it does appear like my last design. So
it must be the first one because that's it. The first one is the bottom. No?
Yep, so it combined.
It combined blue. Oh, you must have used blue.
I must have used the same 2 colors.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you want to make sure that you don't do that. So that is easy enough for me to remedy because I can go back into my working file and I can change it. So that is why we try to make sure that we use
completely different
colors. Yes.
Yep. But you also want to use dark enough colors that you can see them on screen. So, you know, your gut might be, I'm going to use yellow because it's at the top of the screen. It's really hard to see the yellow on the screen. So when you're selecting them, yes, totally understand, make them easy so you know what you've selected, but also make them dark enough that you can see what you're doing.
Absolutely. And so I'm going to go back to the design center here. And we will pull up that file we saved. So we're saving from the back corner over here, and I save that onto my USB stick. It goes into my B pocket, and this is that design. So when I look at this design, I'm going to increase this just a little bit. So you can see where everything is sort of touching each other over here. In the next menu here,
I'm thinking,
I know. Let's go through. So
thinking.
as I go through this, so there's the line that looks like it got combined. So let's touch that.
Great.
I know. And let's make it yellow because that will be completely different, right? So that is yellow. And
what else we got?
that is
Purple.
purple. And
That's purple.
that is purple. So that is why.
So
That's pink. That's what it's supposed to be, pink. So this is why I'm doing it in steps, because what happens when we get lines being drawn, I'm going to try to zoom in on this so that you can see what we're talking about.
the vertical line basically split the large rectangle.
Yep. So this is what happens. So as I scroll through this, you can see the red box right now. So now my green box that I drew earlier has 1, 2, because now it's at the bottom, 3, 4 different pieces to it. Because as the design pieces go through the design, it splits it. This is why we definitely want to work on this in sections, because if we don't, it's going to make it a lot harder. So I'm going to resave this. And now we have 4 complete design pieces. So we have our, but it put it in the wrong order. Completely backwards. I love working when it does that. So we would have to do this whole design backwards in order for this to work.
That's interesting.
Isn't that very interesting?
So, yep.
I wonder what my first save design went to. Let's try embroidery and
Yep.
Yep.
It did it too.
It did it, yep. So if it's going to do it backwards, then we would have to draw it backwards.
Why does it do it backwards?
I have no idea. Let's go back to Design Center. Does it have anything to do with...
That seems very backwards.
I know, right? Does it have something to do with the way I left the design? Shouldn't, right?
No. It's the regular.
Yeah, because earlier I had it in the wrong one. So that's where my brain keeps going. And then I moved it because I was
Gotcha.
like, I should do that. All right.
Huh.
So this was my first one.
So, hello, Miss Barb. So, I mean, it should stitch it in the order you create it, just like.
And that one combined one,
No, it's still the same way.
but it is definitely still the same
Yep.
way.
Very interesting. I'm going to have to look that one up
Yes,
because that's,
backwards.
it is in more ways than one.
Yes.
So we will get back to you on the order of what's going on because that doesn't make any sense. And I'm 100% sure that we've done this before and it didn't do that. So
Correct.
we will have to dig into that one and get an answer.
I really
However,
like going live.
right? So much fun. So, but the steps for what we're creating, that changes nothing. So how they are created, and just for clarification, the straight line is a placement. The second line is the basically seam allowance, and then you would fold over the decorative piece and press.
Yes.
So at this point, we have created a placement line for your batting, the tack down line for your batting, placement line for fabric, and tack down line for fabric. Then you would open up your fabric, and then we have the surface ready to go.
Yes.
That's where we are.
That is absolutely where we are.
All right. So what do we do now?
Now we would either create a fill stitch inside of our design, or we would create a backing tack down. So what I did was I decided that we were going to use some fill stitches from
our decorative fills.
Our decorative fills. So I'm going to pull up the design that wants to stitch backwards. Okay. And I'm going to turn my grid off because we do not need to see that in the background. And so now you can see
Come do that behind us.
the whole design is here. And what I want to be able to do is I want to fill the inside portion of this design and the inside portion of this side with a fill stitch. But I don't really need any of this other stuff to stitch out because we already have that information.
We already have that.
So I am going to go up to the upper right-hand corner again to my line properties, and I'm going to select the no-sew option. And then I am going to use my paint can, and I am going to touch no-sew. And I want to make sure that everything on here does not stitch, because I don't need any of these lines to actually stitch out. I just need the boxes there, okay? And I also do not need this piece right here because that would just give us a space.
It would have an opening that there's no quilting in.
Quilting in there. So I'm gonna go over.
That might look a little weird.
It might, to my eraser button, and I'm gonna just erase that line. So I like to zoom in a little bit so that we can see that. And I've got my eraser. When I erase, I usually start on the outside edge. I want square.
And the one on the right was the placement line. The stitch line is the one on the left.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just erasing the
That was for their benefit, not yours.
piece that I don't need. And I don't have to be perfect. It won't matter. It's not going to stitch it at all. So now I just have sort of this weirdly random shaped stuff, but I'm going to fill the left side and the right side with some decorative fill stitches. So I'll zoom in a little bit more. All right. So I'm going to fill in this area.
And this would be, for most mug rugs, where you put your decorative stitching.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like after the quilting, wherever your design is going to go.
Absolutely. But a lot of them are pre-quilted. So this is where we would fill in the pre-quilting pieces. So I'm going to go to, instead of being at my line properties, I'm going to be in my fill properties, which is the second group box of here. And I'm going to collect that. I'm going to select
it. Yeah,
that.
I think we should totally collect that.
And then I'm going to select the little bubbles here. Does he know?
Yes, because he was dancing over here. That's why I said he should come behind us.
Right.
Evidently, he doesn't think that makes any noise.
And then you can pick out whatever type of decorative stitching you want. So I'm going to pick this new fun fancy fill over here, and I'm going to pick a color that you can see.
Of course you'd pick pink.
And I'm going to fill the area with stitches. Now I am going to slide over to the other side, and I'm going to fill it with a different fill because I can. So again, I'm selecting this option here, and I like this new pretty stipple. And purple, we are going to fill this side with that. Now I'm going to go to my next option, and at this point, I would have the ability to tweak. And it kind of looks like I might have forgotten to grab these two outline pieces over here and send them to no-sew. So I'm going to use the option over here on the right to select until I get to those pieces. So I've got that piece highlighted right now. I'm selecting it, and I'm going to not be able to do that.
Sorry. I've tried that before.
So I'm going to go back in here, and I'm going to zoom in to the area.
Yeah. Do you know how many times I've done that? They haven't added it. I keep looking, though.
And it's somewhere. Oh, it's right over here at the top.
That one, yep.
So I'm going to go back up here, touch my little can, and I'm going to tap that.
No-sew.
No-sew. And I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom.
No-sew.
There we go. And go back to my next. And now those are gone.
There we go.
And so now I can adjust the stitching here. This is a lot of stitching here. So the first thing that I always do is I always go down to this bottom box here, and I make this the lighter fill, which is a little bit more like a straight stitch. The new update. And then I'm going to increase the size of this because I don't want quite as much stitching here. And then I'm going to go over here and again make this no-sew.
One-sew.
One-sew, yeah, not no-sew, less-sew. And I think I want this to be actually a little bit tighter. So I'm going to adjust this. And sorry if you guys can hear the doors opening and closing over there. They're taking stuff out. So now I've got this adjusted how I want it. Again, I can save this to my machine or to my USB stick so that I can alter those stitches later on. And I'm setting it, and now I would be able to fill this. So what I would want to do is I would want to save this as an embroidery design. So I'm saving it to my memory. Okay. And now I would actually like pull up the different parts of the design.
Yep.
So, but I'm gonna make the backing first, and then we'll have all of the different pieces and parts. So back to IQ Designer.
Almost there.
Yes, to make the backing. We know that that's gonna be a shape. I'm just gonna draw this shape because that would just be the quickest thing.
Yep.
So I'm selecting the box again, 01. I'm going to my size option. I'm going to use my keypad, and I'm going to make that 5 by 7, and I'm going to select OK. I do not want this to be a satin stitch, so I'm going to select the option. I'm going to do a single stitch, and then I'm going to do it 2 times. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change that to be the stitch.
Yep.
I know I did it. And then I'm going to just make another box. and it's gonna go right on top of it. And the reason that I didn't try to do like copy and paste is because the copy and paste button,
It offsets.
It does offset.
It doesn't put it right on top of the other one.
And I want it to be right on top of each other. And I'm not changing my color because I want it to be kind of like a continuous stitch, but I do want it to go over top of it 2 times. So now we've got 2 versions of that. I'm gonna hit the next button. I'm gonna save this in my memory so that I can refer to this later. Set. And now I have an embroidery design. I'm gonna save this embroidery design someplace so that I can
pull that back in.
Pull it up later on, absolutely. And now we're gonna go and we're gonna pull up all of the pieces of our design. So here I have my embroidery. I'm gonna go to the little pocket here and I'm gonna grab my bee pocket. And I should have the pieces and parts of my designs here. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger so that you can see that. So I've got my designs. I do, yeah. Obviously I've saved these more than once because I was playing around earlier. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna grab them and I'm gonna put them on my screen in the order that I want them to stitch out. So the first thing that I want to do is that outline. So I'm gonna set that.
So now we have our batting in and we would have our fabric placed.
Yes.
So next we need to quilt.
Yes.
So we want to add, what did you hit?
I don't know. I think I hit cancel.
Why did you do that?
I didn't mean to. I looked over at Gino over there because they're making all that noise and distracting me. So let's try that again.
Okay, so we're gonna add in that first piece that we did again, and we're gonna do our batting and our fabric tack down. And the next thing we wanna add in is our quilting choice. So we go back to our saved file and we pull in whichever quilting file floats your boat. And you're gonna bring that in and it's gonna go right on top because everything when you pull them in is gonna center right in your hoop. So as long as you followed your plan, and you have everything at the right size, it's all gonna layer right on top of itself. So now, what do you wanna put on there? Do you wanna put your monogram? Do you wanna put a Christmas tree? Do you wanna make happy birthday? A sewing machine? Whatever floats your boat. So let's throw that on there. That looks beautiful.
He's a little bit bigger.
Oh.
I wonder if I can make him smaller.
We can make him like half that size. Yeah, we can do that. It'll be close.
Pick the right button. There, it fits.
Just fits.
If it fits, it ships.
All right, so you've got whatever decorative design that you're gonna do. And so again, whatever order you add these in is going to be the order they stitch in. So the last thing that we need to do now is put on our backing fabric. So we need to go grab that last squaring stitch that's going to go all the way around and put on our backing fabric. And that is the last stitch that we need. If you look on the right side of the screen there, you can see all 4 of the steps that are going down. So the one on the top is your batting and fabric placement. The next is going to quilt those down. The next is going to get whatever your decorative stitches are. And you can, of course, make that whatever you would like. And the last is going to be your fabric backing placement and tack down. Not placement, I'm sorry, tack down. So those would be like your folded envelope pieces on the back.
Absolutely.
That would be what we would recommend anyways, because then there's no afterward sewing.
Absolutely.
So there is a mug rug in a design
machine.
IQ something.
So
all done right while you're sitting here. So you all right?
Yep, it's just me hitting the desk.
Okay.
Not me hitting my knee.
Okay, good.
Nice.
It really is the number pad really simplified that.
It did.
Not that we couldn't do that before, but the main thing is if you don't have the number pad, make sure that you pay attention to what you're shrinking it to, because it might not be 5.0 by 7.0. It might be 5.04
Yes.
by 7.06 or whatever it is. It's not always exact numbers. And that was what I really like about the number. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to hit the microphone.
Yeah.
What I really like about the number pad is we can get exactly the size that we're looking for, because we a lot of times ended up with close enoughs. So this makes sure that if you are doing on the XJs or Meridians or XEs or
Destiny,
Dream, what's the other? Altairs. Those machines don't have that number pad yet. So just jot down your original placement line options so that you make sure that you repeat those as you go. Sorry, I bumped that camera.
That's okay. We're not.
We're not
the big
there.
screen
It's
anymore.
not on the big one anymore, but you know.
So, if I'm doing this in regular, now I'm doing it. So if I do this, let's just move. It doesn't
for
need to
anybody
be on there.
who doesn't have a design center, could they still do this?
They could. You could do. We talked about like making it out of shapes. So you could make it with the shapes that you have on your machine. You can definitely move design pieces around, which is what we were trying to avoid here, is making it a little bit easier. So on your machine that doesn't have Design Center, you have, everybody has
the shapes button.
Right, so you have a
So
shapes tool button here.
You
and
have rectangles and you have squares. And so we don't have straight lines. So in this instance where we drew a straight line, you would need to have a rectangle or a square that went to the outside line, because there's no other way to get around that. So you would still need to do that. But there's no reason that wouldn't work. You would just want that line to be right on top of the previous lines so that you're not adding anything into seam allowances and things like that. But absolutely doable.
Yes.
There's no reason that you couldn't do that. So,
and if you were doing this on a machine that didn't have the Design Center and you didn't have those lines, I bet you if you sewed your two pieces of fabric
you
together,
could hit stop.
First, so that you have your contrasting fabric, and then used your rectangles, it would be a lot easier than trying to like stop and move forward in your design. But you could use your rectangles as your trimming line and your placement line, so you would know exactly where you were getting your fabrics from. You would just piece those fabrics ahead of time, and then you could fill it with a background stitch, backing, a background quilting stitch of your size.
If you aren't, again, of a machine that has the built-in backgrounds, clear blue tiles, all of the Kimberbell quilting, there's, I can't even begin to start all of the other options that are out on the internet. So, I mean, if you don't have the built-ins, doesn't mean you can't do something. So there is that poor cat.
Yeah, multiple ways
to skin it. So we'll let it have its skin for Christmas, and we'll just talk about some other ways to do things. But that poor cat.
I know, right?
But yeah, so there is definitely lots of ways to do things. But you know, what I just did this past weekend is a perfect example of, you know, needing a base mug rug design and changing out, you know, your decorative piece. I mean, how many did I make? 10 or something like that, with all different designs on every one of them. So, you know, there's certainly a call for that if that's coming into gift giving time. There's lots of ways to do that and make your life a lot easier.
So many ways,
So many this would give you that baseline. So we'll work on getting a file up so that you can get those steps if you don't have that available to you. However, everybody can get there even if they don't have an IQ or a design center.
Yes.
So we seem to have answered most of the questions outside of the order of that, which we're going to have to dig into and try to figure out. I
wonder if it has anything to do with the update.
Maybe
there is an update.
There is an update that we haven't installed that maybe somebody realized it changes that and automatically
now I'll have to go
fixed it
home
or
and try it on
something.
my Luminaire at home.
Yep, I
see.
was just thinking the same thing. I'm like, I wonder what mine.
And in my mind, I already have a plan. So if that is really what it's going to do, I have a plan. I have a workaround.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
but this is exactly what my life is like, right? I have this great plan, and then it goes
And
backwards,
then it's
and so then
completely
I have to come
opposite
up
of what
with
you were
another
expecting
way.
it to do, and you're like, okay, now what?
Yes.
So, but yeah, so the design center can be used in so many ways. A lot of us look at it with all of those background quilting and just think, oh, I can make quilt squares, or I can do, there's so many things that we can do with it, and this is just one example of that. So hopefully this kind of gets the creativity spark moving and helps you come up with some other ways of things that you can do. And if you just wanted to make a coaster versus a mug rug, there's this thing called a square.
Yes.
That
Even
would
the
also
square with the rounded corners.
square with a rounded corner, and so there's lots of different things that you can do. There's these circle things too.
Yes.
They're so crazy.
I
There's all
know.
these shapes.
Yes.
But yeah,
So many
there's,
choices.
There's lots of things that we can do. They don't have to all be these huge, large projects that are crazy hard and all of those things. So hopefully that, like we said,
Even though we do complicated well.
we do absolutely know how to make things look.
Yes.
And yeah. Anyway, so
2 things before we
Yep.
go. What were you going to say? I was going to say show a
that's
snippet of
where,
that.
That's where I was going to go. So
And Tuesdays have become super crazy at the shop here. So starting in January, we are still going to go live every week, but we are going to go live on Wednesdays instead.
Yep.
So it's going to be Wednesdays at 3:30 instead of Tuesdays at 3:30.
Yep.
We have a little bit more help at the end of the day on Wednesdays. So, and we're not doing a lesson right before. So it's gotten a little bit crazy. We will keep reminding you.
Yep.
But
so couple
starting
more
in
weeks,
January.
the first Wednesday in January will be our first switch.
Yes.
So that will be coming up. But we got a couple more weeks before that happens. So we're just throwing that out so that you guys can put it on the calendar and get
as a
used to
reminder.
that as a reminder. We'll be stitching with SNL on Wednesdays at
Yes.
3:30. So
This is so
I
cute.
am really happy with the colors and how it's stitched. So I still need to come out with the cut file, but I have the cut file all prepped. So this is what we'll be working on Friday.
Yes.
So we're going to talk how to create one of these cute little things, how to manipulate them, and how did I do that? Because I did not come up with that pattern. I mean,
So much easier than the way I used to do it.
right?
Right? So much
So
easier.
Sarah's been like doing the whole subway word
Art,
thing,
yeah.
art thing for a long time.
Long time.
And I was like, so you just do this? And she was like, oh.
Yeah. That's not how I used to do
That's
it.
not how I did it. And I was like, well, that's how I do it.
Yep.
We're going to show you a couple different things on how to make that. And we'll talk about the ins and the outs and what to do, what not to do, and all
Yep.
of those things. And then obviously there'll be a pattern that has that worked into it for an embroidery. That will be an available option. And then I already have, like I said, the files created. I just haven't actually gotten it cut yet because
It's
the day
Tuesday.
happened. But
So Friday will probably be about a 2-hour class.
It'll be longer.
Because it's more like a regular class that we would do.
Yep.
So we're going to spend some time talking about 2 different types of software. So embroidery software
And cutting software.
Scan and cut software or cutting. It could be, it's not scan
it's
and
not
cut.
specific to cut it to the scan and cut. It's obviously how I use it, but it is not specific. So if you happen to have a different cutter, that software that we'll be discussing on Friday will work for you too. So
Absolutely.
there's that, and then we will
Multi-layered.
be doing heat transfer vinyl with 6 different
colors.
colors. So how to make that all work and not want to pull all of your hair out at the same time.
Yes.
So that is what we're going to be doing on Friday. We'll be not stitching this because this takes a
It's
hot
a
second
good
to
long
stitch. I mean,
stitch.
there's a lot going on in there. So there's definitely stitch time. So we will not be stitching this specific part live, but we might stitch the rest of the project that we put together for that.
Yeah,
So
we'll show you how to
we'll show you how
finish
to
it
put
in
it
a-
in and finish everything. And then those files will be available. And then we'll talk about the cutting stuff.
It's going to
as
be
well.
lots of fun.
So lots of things. It'll be fun.
I wonder what will go wrong.
I don't know.
Software live.
Well, yeah, so that's what's coming up, and I'm super excited. It came out really cute. The cut file came out really good. I'm hoping it cuts as good as it looks on my screen. So that's the test part.
so cute.
Otherwise, it might not be that size. But
Absolutely. And if you have, so what software are we going to be talking about?
we will be talking about BES Blue,
Which
a lot of you just recently got. So whether you got it at Novi or whether you got it since August at some point, or if you have no software and have been looking for something that has a decent amount of power in it, but doesn't have a huge price tag on it comparative to a lot of the others. It is not a full digitizing software, but it has a lot of
Pieces
to
and
it.
parts.
There's a lot of stuff happening in that little software. So we're going to talk about BES Blue, which is the embroidery software. And then we're going to talk about Craft and Cut. So that has been my tool of choice for cutting.
Yep.
I do play in the free versions that Brother offers quite often, and I did actually use it. And I can show you guys what I did in that as well. But it's really, both of them have. I was tickled with how easy everything went together and manipulated itself around. I was like, oh, well, that was
Easy.
for not a $1,500 to $1,800 software. It packed a good punch.
And it really stitched out super nice.
It stitched out beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm very, very pleased. So that's what we'll start with is those softwares, and then we'll get into embroidery and scan and cut and layering and all of that good stuff. So that's what's happening.
So start drinking early because it's software.
We will make sure we've had lunch and our cups have lids.
Yeah.
That are cups, not bottles of Mountain Dew that you can see what's in there.
Vodka and Mountain Dew. Oh my goodness. I'm just joking.
Neither one of us really
yeah.
drink much, in case anybody didn't already know that.
That's why it's so funny.
Total joke that would be a thing. But anyway, that is the plan. So if you would like to sip and sew with us on Friday, though, that sounds fantastic. It'll be from roughly 3:30 to 5:30-ish. No, 9 morning. Oh, God.
Don't show up at 3:30. I can't edit that. It's at 9:30 in the morning.
It's today at 3:30. It is Friday at 9:30, and I will
yes.
be here at 9:30.
So mimosas.
Mimosas is I'm like, what do we drink? That's what threw me off. I'm like drinking it.
Yeah, we're gonna.
We're
just gonna start early because it's software.
Yep. 9:30. We'll be here.
9:30. Don't
9:30 to.
You can rewatch it at 3:30.
You can, but 9:30 to 11:30. We are not going to be on at 3:30. I'm so sorry. Wow, it's been a day. It's already been a day and 2 days. It's been a week already, and it's only Tuesday afternoon.
I love it.
Oh
my
Lord.
goodness, guys. It's been so much fun. The files will be loaded probably later on this week.
Soon.
And we'll have those up for you. Thanks
for staying, and see ya
Yeah.
Friday morning.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.